All right, wrong word completely. But that's, something that we should, talk about a bit. This crying in the morning thing, this depression, let's get that fixed.
That's what men think, isn't it?
What?
That unless you've got the answer, unless you can say, oh, I know this bloke in the Essex Road who could fix that, then there's no point bothering.
No. Well, yeah, okay. I would. I'd love to know the name of the bloke in the Essex Road because I've got a feeling I'd be useless. But
oh, Will, you're not useless. You're here.
Welcome to part 2 of our About a Boy episode. But before we go into real talk, it's time for PP, our patron pitch. This is where we let our patrons know what they can expect in their exclusive patron feed, and we also let non-patrons know what they're missing out on. The patron takeover is in full swing, but there's also stuff happening in the patron feed. So this is your reminder. You're on the ground floor, on the Travoltis tier. You get all the cutting room floor stuff, anything that didn't make it into the episodes that are in the main feed. For example, here, all the singing that Alex and I did during the recording. I'm kidding. There's at least so far, there hasn't been any singing that was recorded, that is. You also get the bonus episode every month, at least one. We have over 30, I think, by now, Alex, of those, because we've been doing this for a while. This month, the bonus episode is for the movie Thunder Road, picked by the same guy that picked About a Boy for the main feed, Jamie Russell.
I'm learning here that it is named after the Springsteen song. It looks like awkwardly so.
Oh, should I listen to the song before watching the movie?
Have you? Fuck off. You've never heard Thunder Road?
Maybe I haven't. I just don't know that it's Thunder Road. Sing it for me, Alex. Close your eyes and sing it.
Screen door slams. Mary's dress waves. As a vision, she dances upon the pavement as the radio plays. Across the porch, not on the pavement. I'm conflating Springsteen lyrics here. Yeah.
I'm waiting for Hugh Grant to come behind the scenes with his guitar just to join you to polish this. Anyway, Thunder Road, bonus episode, right there on the Patreon feed. Ground floor, $1 gets you access to that and all the other bonus episodes. Now you go up a tier to the Winonis and onward. You also get our pre-recording notes. You get our QVRs this month, picked by Jordan. Alex, you're getting the horror movie Skinamarink.
Mm-hmm.
Skinamarink. And I get I think it's found footage, Dashcam. It's Dashcam footage. Both movies that we haven't seen. So you get to see our quick video reviews, our video reactions to that. Also, a proper time to shout out friend of the show, friend of ours, former guest from a long time ago, Corey Ari. We mentioned him in the previous episode, but yeah, he's been helping us out with video editing, and you can tell because Corey has his own YouTube channel, so he does this kind of like on his sleep at this point, and he's been adding a little bit of pizzazz to our QVRs and our Contrarians warm-ups. So thank you, Corey.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, if you want to check out his YouTube channel, I put the link on the show notes. And then, of course, we have Contrarians After Hours. That's the spin-off show where we tell you about other things that we're watching, that we're reading, that we're listening to, that we're thinking about. Alex, what are you bringing to Contrarians After Hours this time?
By the time you will be listening to this, I will have attended and worked my first movie convention, the Cult Classic Convention in Bastrop, Texas. I have a lot of shit I'm trying to get rid of, so I rented some space for a booth. I'm going to be selling wrestling DVDs, fight posters, movie memorabilia, some original theatrical posters, and we'll see what happens. We'll see if I make any money, if I sell anything. I'm just kind of looking for it. I've gone several years in the past, but this year will be my first time operating a booth, so my portion of After Hours will be my report from the Cult Classic Convention. James Remar is going to be there, and I am going to have to get a mark picture with him. So hopefully he's a nice dude, and fairly confident I'm going to be the only person at this thing that's going to want to talk to him about his role as Richard on Sex and the City.
That's how you stand out.
Yeah.
Unless he tells you I fucking hated that show.
Kim Cattrall was a bitch.
All right. Well, on my end, Alex, my Hitchcock journey continues. I watched Frenzy. Have you heard of Frenzy?
Yes.
Have you seen it?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, it's on the cock.
Nice.
Hour 50, I think. And I have thoughts. It's no Psycho. It's no Strangers on a Train, but it's very much Frenzy. So it's a good conversation piece. I'll tell you about that. And then on HBO Max, The Big Sleep, a Humphrey Bogart movie that has relevance to something that's coming up on the Contrarians, because one of our patron picks, I think it's next month, we're gonna be doing the Long Goodbye. With aforementioned Elliot Gould. And so he plays a private detective in that one. And that character is also the character that Humphrey Bogart plays in The Big Sleep. So I figured, for the sake of context, I would watch The Big Sleep just so I can make all sorts of jokes comparing Elliot Gould to Humphrey Bogart when we finally record that episode. So I'm going to tell you about Frenzy. I'm going to tell you about The Big Sleep. You're going to tell me about your time at this horror convention. That sounds like a fantastic after hours. That and everything else that we told you about, any of that sounds interesting? Check out patreon.com/Contrarian Prime and look at our tiers. See if you'd like to join the Contrarian supplements.
$1, $3, $5, and $10 are respective tiers. Like Julio stressed, it's just $1. Plorp it down. Take a look around. See what there is there that you like. Let us know if there's something you think we're spending too much time on, or if there's something you want more of. We will do our best to meet your demands, because you are the ones that are handing over your hard-earned money. And once you're there, you're going to give $1, and you're going to realize you're going to want more. And so it'll be $3, $5, and then $10. The cryptic, the teasing statements are coming towards an end as it regards our upcoming patron project. So I think this one and maybe the next one will be the last time you'll hear, and there's something coming up for our patrons.
It has nothing to do with The Rock or John Cena.
No,
we can say that.
Yeah, I think I can comfortably say for you, our patrons, this project's kind of going to come out of left field, but we're really looking forward to it. So that's on the horizon. All the shit dating back to our original patron episode, in which we deep dove Blue is the Warmest Color. It's all there, so check it out. And to all of our current patrons, God bless y'all. We love you. And as I like to say, we are always taking applications. We review them, but really it's like, it's a foregone conclusion. We're gonna accept them.
Yeah, we're like that support group for single parents and About a Boy. We'll just take anyone.
Is it Splat? Sap?
Splat. No, Spat.
Spat.
Single parents something together.
Yeah, cool. like everything else in this movie, I couldn't really remember it.
All right. Well, let's talk about this. Let's go and get real about a boy.
Well, he's a very good little boy, very brave. They've got amazing resources, don't they? Mm-hmm. Just the other day, I was thinking about my ex, and he came crawling up and put his little pudgy arms around my neck, and he said, "You hang in there, Dad."
God, that's amazing for a 2-year-old.
Is it?
Yeah.
93%, man. The fuck?
From the directors of American Pie. What's the American Pie tomato meter score, Alex?
Let's see. American Pie pales in comparison to the certified fresh 93% of About a Boy. 61%.
I mean, having sex with pie is divisive.
In a strange turn of events, it mirrors its audience score, which is also 61%. In a just world, American Pie would have a 69%, but what are you going to do?
Get to it,
bullshit. Critics. American Pie 2 is rotten. American Pie 2 rules.
So you say.
Well, that and Road Trip are like my go-to raunchy comedies. That and Kingpin are like, yeah, those are my 3 top-tier sex comedies, or whatever you want to call them. Not a sex comedy, or I guess it could be in some aspects, is About a Boy, which, going back, as I stated in the first half, was released in the United States on May 17th of 2002. Universal Pictures released it with a budget of $30 million a box office return of $130 million based off About a Boy by Nick Hornby. Paul and Chris Weisz directed, written by the Weitzes, and along with Peter Hedges, who also penned such films as Dan in Real Life, which I am a fan of, and The Odd Life of Timothy Green, which was a very strange film.
Who's the guy in that one? I know it's Jennifer Garner. She's the mom.
Brendan Conlon.
Joel Edgerton.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. C will show no mercy.
He'll show as little mercy to his opponents as you do to one Hugh Grant. Alex, I don't think I knew how much you dislike Hugh Grant until I heard your tone during Contrarians Corner.
A lot of it is turned up, amplified for the fun of it, but like, he really was just like a good-looking guy who was in the right place at the right time, which is, a lot of people made successful movie careers in the 90s from that, and the 2000s.
You say, are you comparing Hugh Grant to Taylor Lautner?
No, Hugh Grant's a better actor than Taylor Lautner. And I'm sorry, pretty people have been making money in film since the beginning of film, but there was like a path to being, you're the cute and affable British guy, and they had these American rom-coms, and that's kind of what he fell into. And it's not to say I haven't seen him be good at anything. He was excellent in that. What was that Guy Ritchie movie from a few years ago with him and
The Gentleman?
Yes, yeah, he was tremendous in that. It's just the like the stuttering and like the caricature that he became. It's not like who's a male, Clooney or something like that. The rom-coms and ER and shit he would do where it's so obvious, like, oh, he's just the pretty guy, and in a real life scenario he would never act like this. But I say Clooney's great, so I'd buy into it. But like with Hugh Grant, it just kind of never worked for me. It's not to say this movie's a total shit show or I think it sucks or anything like that. It's also kind of what we talked about off the air. I remember as a little kid, his whole thing happening, his controversy when he was married to Elizabeth Hurley, and even at like 10, I was like, what an idiot.
That's the problem. That's where you lost respect for every aspect of his career.
I saw 9 months at too young of an age. I was just like, this guy's an idiot.
I think my first Hugh Grant exposure was Four Weddings and a Funeral, and that is
I think that's a lot of people. Yeah,
that is Hugh Grant as Hugh Grant. Mm-hmm. That's what he would be for the next, I don't know, decade. That's how he made money. He became the actor that he is now. Before we delve into more Hugh Grant conversation and his co-stars here, got a few rotten quotes. I also have a little note from Jamie about this movie. So I got rotten quotes starting with David Sterrett from Christian Science Monitor, who says, was this spiritless stuff really directed by Paul and Chris Weisz of American Pie fame? How the rebels have mellowed.
I would argue it's impressive when people can make movies that are tonally different, but what do I know?
So this dude deeply disappointed that Hugh Grant didn't molest some pastry.
I mean, the opportunity was right there. They should have at least had like a shot of him looking at like, a pie or a scone coming out of the oven and being like, like, he just kind of the ending of the movie should have been the Christmas dinner. Rachel Weisz brings an apple pie out and puts it on the table, and Hugh Grant looks at the camera and like nods his head like,
There you go. Jessica Winter from The Village Voice says, since the central odd couple have no rapport, their bond never seems to progress past mutual usury. I'm assuming that she's talking about Grant and Holt. Did you buy them as buddies?
Yeah, they had good chemistry. I mean, for as much as they could.
A grown man can have with a 12-year-old? How old is this kid?
Yeah, he's 12. I mean, it's not like I'm blanking on the little boy's name in Sling Blade, but like,
It's Lucas Black.
yes, thank you, and Billy Bob in that. If you're gonna ask me, I'll tell you there's been way superior examples, but this isn't bad.
Nicholas Hoult actually calls out Haley Joel Osment in this movie.
Yes, he does. That's another one we've done. The chemistry between those two is phenomenal. Yeah, it's fine.
Well, not if you're Jessica Winter, apparently. Didn't buy it. Mark Stein from The Spectator says, in print, Hornby's story was lapped up by women. On screen, it looks like the worst kind of unconvincing, unfelt schmaltz and faintly misogynistic in the subordination of its female characters to the needs of its male star. Come back, Richard Curtis. I don't know, man. I've heard even stronger accusations of misogyny towards Richard Curtis.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't feel... I mean, we joked about it in Contrarians Corner, but I don't feel that this movie sells out its female characters for the sake of Hugh Grant. I mean, I think that, there's rom-com tropes that, it's like, oh, do they really... How can they buy his bullshit? But at the same time, you can also turn it on him and be like, how can he be so stupid sometimes? It's just part of the genre,
Yeah, that's accurate.
It's all in good fun, man. I'm going to close before we move on to Jamie's note. I'm going to close with Jeremy Heilman from MovieMartyr.com, who says, you can't help but shake the feeling that you were having more fun with the old, sarcastic, lying Will. Do you have more fun with Hugh Grant before he grew a heart? No,
because you've seen this movie a million times. It's, you know exactly what's going to happen. He's going to learn from this kid and he's going to grow up. And it's not the type of movie you would see today, just because some of the things we call out in the first half of like the way this movie treats itself as a movie. There's a lot of real life, issues in it that people would more than likely take umbrage with the levity in which they're treated in this movie. But yeah, I knew it was going to happen, and I was along for the ride, and I had fun. I didn't feel invested enough in any of the characters to think like the movie betrayed them or changed them at any point. I did think it was legitimately funny how like he's the fucking scum of the earth because he wants to be a bachelor and not have kids.
What about you, Will? Any desire for a family of your own yet?
I'd rather eat one of Barney's dirty nappies. Yeah, not really. I'm sort of all right as I am, I think.
Let's finish with Jamie, actually. Let's see what he thinks. And Alex, what he thinks is that he's not sure. He says, hi, I need to rewatch it as it has been so long. I remember reading the book and watching the film at the cinema and enjoying it at the time. I mainly picked it for the huge Rotten Tomatoes score and as a film that can easily be poked fun out of, to be honest. Hugh Grant is always not everyone's cup of tea, for example. Looking forward to what you guys have to say. Yeah, I mean, Hugh Grant, I can see he is an easy target. I think we proved that. So even Jamie, I'd be curious, Jamie, let us know how this rewatch went for you. I can tell you that I remember liking it when I watched in the theaters, liking it enough that I know I owned it at some point. Not anymore. Like I was looking for a DVD and I was like, no, I guess it was lost in some move, or maybe I sold it. I don't know. But I remember liking it, and then watching it now, I liked it again. It was I think it's really funny. That's the main thing. I think that the fact that he is, there's the part of the movie and the characters that vilify Hugh Grant's character for not wanting kids. But then there's also the fact that he is kind of a shitty person. So I think that upsets
definitely.
It. Yes, they're in the wrong for being so close-minded about the fact that he just doesn't want kids. He wants to be a bachelor. He wants to, just live this life. But then at the same time, he is such an asshole and he's so self-centered. But I find it hilarious. I mean, I think that that's the brilliance of the Hugh Grant performance, that he can be such a terrible person, but also be really funny. And when God, this is horrible, but it's so funny when they find Toni Collette. She's trying to commit suicide, and so they call the ambulance, and then he's driving, and his voiceover goes, "Man, this was horrible, but also it was pretty thrilling to be able to drive behind the ambulance.
Yeah.
It's like, what a piece of shit, but it's really funny. So it is a pivot from what you were saying before, the original incarnation of the Hugh Grant persona, which was the stuttering, I just don't, I have trouble expressing myself, I'm really awkward and all that. Like here he's playing the cool guy. And I I like his other persona fine, but I think that this is, I find this funnier, that he's just this guy that's, that can be kind of like effortless in the way he is cool, but also at times be very clueless about human interaction because he's used to just being on his own. So I like him a lot. I think that it's that's why I was worried. I was like, does Alex really not like Hugh Grant? Because this is such a likable performance.
The hardest I laughed the entire movie is like the voiceover of Nicholas Hoult, where he's like, I made sure mom looked good. I picked out her fur, sweater or some shit like that. And then it cuts to Hugh Grant's voiceover, and he's like, for some reason, she appeared to be wearing a Yeti costume. I thought that was fantastic. Yeah, he's fine. It's just I don't know, my age maybe, being young when these type of movies were just like bleh to me, and he was like, the poster child of a lot of them in the late 90s, like Notting Hill. I remember just being like, when I was young teen or had no time for that, and he's just not a guy that I ever was like, all right, here's the movie star, this is going to carry what I need. So he's also easy to joke about and make light of, just because of like how he typically is in movies. But like I said, I've seen things I really enjoy him in, and also he seems to be a guy with a good sense of humor about himself and can take a joke about his acting and whatnot. So, good on him. It's just he's never been someone that I've been drawn to.
I think maybe you enjoy him more in this latter stage of his career, where he's not necessarily, just bulking up on romantic leads. Then again, they also don't make that many rom-coms anymore, so but you know what I mean, like, because now, so he went from playing the stuttering shy guy to playing kind of like the cool hot guy in About a Boy, and then now he's quirky, like Cloud Atlas, he plays all those characters, and then the Gentleman and so on. I think that now he's just kind of
he was in the Glass Onion, right?
Well, he has a cameo in Glass Onion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, hopefully he'll come back, because that'll be great. But yeah, now he's I really, from what I've heard, he's the main reason to watch Paddington 2, I guess. Did you hear that? Like how everybody was raving about, he's a bad guy in that one. They were raving about how funny he is in that movie. Yeah,
that's fun.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I think that as a Hugh Grant vehicle, this is really good, and I couldn't tell you if this was the first time that, if this was the inflection point when he started playing this type of character and got rid of some of his mannerisms from before. But whatever the case, it's just, I think it's one of his most popular, and it's really strong. So I really like it. Now, perhaps more, I was going to say controversially, but not really. I guess you've been more vocal. I have too, I guess, about Nicholas Hoult throughout the run of this podcast. we kind of buried him a little bit in our Fury Road episode. I don't think that when you were doing your X-Men recount over on Patron, I don't think that you singled him out on any of the positives. But here he is at the very beginning. This is the one that started it all. What do you think of this? What do you make of this child performance?
It's whatever. I try not to be mean to kids, like we say, but like I don't care. He's kind of annoying, but it could be anyone if they're talking in kind of that high pitched kid voice and just constantly questioning things that I would get annoyed with. Like that's just me. Like my tolerance for inquisitive children only goes so far. Children should ask questions and explore things in life, but like for me, they shouldn't come to me for that, because I'll answer like 2 questions, they'll be like, get away from me.
You have more of a problem with the character, not the performance.
Yeah, I guess, and so in essence, my overarching issue would be with the movie, because it's just like the story of this does not really do much for me. My issues with Nicholas Hoult would come way later, because he's not like offensively bad in this or anything. Because he's an example. He's good looking. That's like why he gets his roles. I don't really have any qualms about saying that.
Hashtag hot beast.
I mean, he's had a few movies where he was the lead that did all right. That Warm Bodies movie, I think, made a good amount of money. And but didn't that Jack and the Beanstalk movie bomb? Wasn't that like they lost money on that? I feel like I remember that being kind of a...
It was kind of a non-starter. There was no sequel.
Yeah. But
he's really good in The Menu.
Sure.
It's the truth.
I do like Ray Fiennes, and I do like Anya Taylor-Joy. So maybe one day. But for the most part, I see him and Eddie Redmayne as the same, of just they are following the path of Hugh Grant, but neither of them are as good as actors as Hugh Grant is. In the sense of being good-looking British guys. Of course, Eddie Redmayne, I've done artsy movies, so I'm a respected actor. That motherfucker, that guy's an Oscar winner. Don't forget,
he beat Keaton.
Don't forget to write your congressperson about that. But and yeah, this Holt fella just kind of grew into someone that when he's on screen, he's a channel changer for me. If I'm watching something. If I'm flipping the channels and he shows up, I'm like, all right, I'm done with this. But I can comfortably say he is not grating, or it's not like I hated him from a young age or anything like that, because he's fine in this. It's just the movie and the character that I'm like ambivalent towards.
Yeah, I'm actually more than that. I'm actually pretty positive on him. And I think it's the performance, because at first I was just like, no, it's just the way it's written. But no, because if you get a kid that's just a little bit more annoying, then the movie goes off the rails. Like you know me, listeners, you know me, child actors. I think I even referenced it in Contrarians Corner. the precocious child characters that are wise beyond their years, and they're always kind of like smart mouth, and most of the time they just don't work for me. So you have to have a really good actor, somebody like Haley Joel Osment. We keep dropping his name here, or really, really strong writing, or really like strong concept. And but here, I mean, it's just he's playing, in theory, on paper, this character should get on my nerves as much as he gets on your nerves, probably even more. But it doesn't happen. I think a lot of it is just that he does have that chemistry with Hugh Grant, and Hugh Grant is really funny, so that he plays off with the kid really well, and Nicholas Hoult can play off of him. I mean, I should be recoiling, because some of the things that he does, like the singing, the quirk that he sings without even noticing, that's on the level of Kirsten Dunst taking imaginary photos, with a camera that's not there. But it works. I think, why it works? Because, and maybe you disagree with me, but I think that the moment when they tie it in to Toni Collette's depression, and it becomes a way, it's this thing that he has in common with his mom that makes both of them happy, and it's a way that he feels that he can do something about his mom's depression. Mm-hmm. Then it's not just this kind of really cheap joke about a kid that can't sing, but instead it gives it meaning. And so little details like that, I think, that make him a more compelling character than just, sometimes, a lot of the time, and Shane Black, I'm looking at you, I see some of those characters, those kids that just talk like adults, and it just feels to me like an adult writer just bending reality to create this little thing that doesn't exist and doesn't come close to being anywhere near something real. Like, kids don't talk like that, kids don't behave like that. But with this one, it feels real enough, I think, because it's rooted in emotion, not in like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if a kid said this, or wouldn't it be funny if a kid did this? It's like, oh no, this is a kid that's getting bullied, and there's a kid that lives with a mom that has depressive episodes, and he's lonely, and somehow he still trudges forward. So I think that all those things add up to making it a character that, even though at first you would think I would hate him, instead I'm really invested in what's happening.
Dude, you and I definitely both have movies like that contradict the things that we've spent the past few years setting up as like what we look for in movies. So I completely understand that. I can respect and appreciate that. You're sometimes even more harsh on the precocious kid characters than I am. So I'm not going to necessarily agree with you on a lot of the shit you've been saying about the quality of this movie, but I can respect where you're coming from with it.
Can I come in?
No,
Why?
because I'm busy.
What are you doing?
I'm watching TV.
I can watch it with you if you want.
I think I was about to move on to Toni Collette, but actually because it has to do with what the movie's saying about, you know, him being a bachelor and all that stuff. I think that the other thing that this movie does right is that it doesn't. By the time that we get to the end, it's not so much about whether he's gonna have kids or not, but it finally lands on, yes, he's having a great life as a bachelor, but it is more rewarding, or there's a very special kind of reward that you can't find anywhere else in connecting with people. And I like that message more than, oh, but don't you think you should have kids? You know, it's not that you should have kids, it's that you should have friends, you know, and the end, that final Christmas is not so much about the fact that he has potential stepkids, you know, in Marcus and Ollie, but it's more that Toni Collette's there, and his buddy from when he worked at the call center, and Ellie is there, and you know, these are people that have each other's backs, and I think that there's ultimately the argument of the movie is that it's a good thing to have people that have your back and to have other people's backs. So that's pretty wholesome. That's not that the movie arrives at such a wholesome message that I have zero issues with. You know, if the movie ended with him just having this statement of like, you're right, I should have kids, that would bother me. That's why the end of Jersey Girl bothers me, right? Because Ben Affleck has like this great life in the city, and then the movie at the end tells you, no, but it's better if you move to a small town and, you know, don't make as much money, but you're dating Liv Tyler. And I'm like, can he date Liv Tyler in the city? So I think that was the biggest surprise when, you know, watching that. I don't think that was much of a concern when I watched it back in theaters, but now I was like, how is this going to turn out at the end? Because I could see where the movie was aiming. And I'm like, you know what? Hugh Grant's life is pretty awesome. So you're going to have to work really hard to convince me that he didn't need to just stay this way. And yeah, they did a good job. Now, Toni Collette, Alex, we love her here on the show.
Oh, yeah.
This is, I mean, she has her moments of levity in this movie, but for the most part, she has some pretty heavy scenes. Did it take you out of the movie?
It was kind of jarring, the reveal scene when they come home and find her, but then from there I kind of understood tonally what the movie was going for. So at first it was like, wait, what? But I really meant the scene in the restaurant where she confronts him, I thought was kind of cringe. But like her acting in the first scene they go on where, like, you know, Marcus thinks it's a date is really good. And then, I mean, the acting's good. It's just, it's kind of hard to get a grasp on. It's hard to stay held on because then it cuts to her, like, you know, crying and having an episode and whatnot. And then, you know, pretty soon after that, Hugh Grant's just like, oh, look at me. I'm such an oaf. But she's such a strong actor that it doesn't come across as like silly or like wild or like, you know, in the wrong hands, that those stark transitions and, you know, really brick wall type stops in the action of the movie. In the wrong hands, someone would be like, what the fuck? They're trying to do too much here. This is like, you know, it's like Vincent Gallo shit. What's the purpose here? And she's so good that it jolts you, but you don't fall off the ride. It's hard to hold on, like I said, in some parts, but you never fall off. Specifically, her at the end where Will comes and talks to her at her meeting. And it is funny. She's like, you know, I'm not attracted to you, right? And he's like, what the hell are you talking about? It is weird how she realizes that she's been like a bad mom, and it's just kind of a throwaway thing. And then he sings, so it's okay. But yeah, it's not that she realizes that, but like I'm sure all parents, specifically single parents, go through moments like that. So
I think that's
who am
why
I to judge or comment?
Well, I think that's why she offers the McDonald's at the end.
I forgot about the McDonald's. Yeah,
she's like, he's doing what makes him happy, and then Hugh Grant goes, no, he's doing what makes you happy. And I completely forgot. You're right. It's kind of like a throwaway moment because we go into the big set piece of the kid singing. But then when it comes back at the end, I was like, oh, that's right. She knows he wants to eat McDonald's. The only reason he doesn't do it is for her. I think that the best moment is when she very casually calls Hugh Grant out. It's like, oh, this is just exactly the way that men think. You just have to fix it. Oh, you're depressed. Okay, well, let's get that fixed. And yes, I know, like, probably not all men, but I mean, as a man, I can tell you that's always. I am conscious of how I generally approach situations that way, and then specifically, my relationship with Kelly is just one of the things where you learn how that's not always the right approach, or that's not, or you can see like the different perspective. And is it because, I'm a man and she's a woman? I want to say probably, but whereas if there's a situation, I just kind of have to figure out what the way is to getting it fixed, and then I can move on to the next thing. Whereas, it's like what Toni Collette is saying, she's like, this is a problem and it's an ongoing situation. And there's no point in rushing to try to figure out how to get it fixed now, because it can't be fixed right now. We just need to acknowledge there's a situation and then move on and, go on with our lives. So I really like that, because it's not even a big moment. It's just, she calls it out and then Hugh Grant says like, yeah, you're right. And then they get in the car. But that gave her character, because she's never, even though she's obviously having the roughest time out of everybody in the movie, I don't think that she's ever portrayed, definitely Toni Collette doesn't play her as this just miserable victim. She has her low points, and then she seems to bounce back and try to keep moving forward for the sake of her kids. So I really like her. She's so good, man. I know we say this every time we see her in a movie, but Toni Collette is just fantastic no matter where you put her.
I think I joked about it in the first half of it. It's like minimalized by her saying, I feel fine today, but that's really how depression works, man. Mm-hmm. So it's like, that's an accurate representation. She feels fine today, but who knows what tomorrow is going to bring, that type of thing. Rachel Weisz, as in everything she's done in life, is perfect.
Man,
sadly, she's in the Southwest flight in the first row where the wall's right there with the magazine holders. That's how much leg room she has in this movie. That's Toni Collette has a small part, but she got in the exit aisle, so she's got a lot of leg room to like stretch her legs and whatnot. Rachel Weisz just shows up and they're like, all right, you're beautiful. Here's 10 lines. Just
make them count.
They make them count.
I mean, she does. The way that she judges Hugh Grant both times. Dude, this is probably the most relatable moment in the movie, at least for someone like me, which is when he first meets her and he has his voiceover saying that, and I have a crush too and whatever. And then he's telling her about how he does nothing. And his voiceover is talking about how at that moment he realized that he was not interesting, and he really wished he was interesting because he wanted her to like him.
Yeah.
It was torture. For 5 minutes, I realized what life would be like if I were in any way interesting. If I had anything to say for myself, if I did anything. But I didn't do anything. And in about 30 seconds, she'd know, and she'd be gone like a shot.
So, what do you do?
Yes, not to that specific level, but that's a feeling that I think a lot of people have. You like someone, and then you strike a conversation, and then the conversation doesn't go the way you want, that you realize that you're coming across as very uninteresting. And yeah, you can see it, in her face. She kind of starts losing interest, and she turns around, and then he comes up with the lie about having a kid.
She was coming off Mummy Returns, so she was on that mummy money. So I want to believe like her role was a lot bigger, but the Universal told them they hit the salary cap, so they're like, all right, you can only have her for 10 minutes in the movie.
She worked for scale.
It's one of the things that makes it memorable because she is a tremendous bona fide A-lister, and she shows up in this movie that's full of other A-listers and is a pivotal character, but has a very small part in it. It's I always like to use that little bit of rattlesnake venom will get you, and that's in this case, what works for her. But yeah, I know what you're saying too. It's been a while since I've been out at some place like that and talked to somebody like that, of you wanting to present yourself as like interesting, and that person's like smarter than you, and exactly the emotions that he's going through in his head, just like you said a moment ago. It's a very relatable scene. I was worried though that because they're at a New Year's party, he was going to go up and try to kiss her, and it was going to, she was going to turn away, and it was going to be, come back to reality, or really awkward moment for Mr. Grant. But we got out unscathed.
They even get away with not really. This is how little she's in the movie, but how much it counts, because she's 100% part of his happy ending. But we don't see that big moment where she forgives him or where they make up. All she needs to do is she has the two moments. One, when she sees him again when he's walking towards Nicholas Hoult at the performance, and he's like, "Oh, I didn't know you were here," and that's my kid, and then he's like, "Oh, he's talented" or something, and she has a look as in like, "This guy, I can't figure him out."
Yeah.
And then she has the close up when he's playing the guitar, and she's smiling, and then you just know that's it. That's all you needed. That's obviously a combination of the filmmaking, the writing, but also her performance. You can buy in her face. It's like she's back in.
You know what? Good. In a movie made today, they would add a fucking half hour to the movie to explain this shit. And that's the way life works sometimes. You don't really remember what got you to this situation, but you're in this happy situation now. You don't need to recount every fucking thing that happens, every leaf that turns over, every discussion or argument, especially for something like this, because it's not that kind of movie. It's just not. It's a movie that exists to have voiceovers that explain huge amounts of exposition, and that is perfectly fine. I'm begging someone to make a movie like this again. Even though I'm at the end of this, I'm gonna be like, it's a C, but it's the type of movie I watch, and I'm like, dude, give me more of this.
You need more C's in your world.
Yes, I do. You know what? I'd be a lot more open to going to see some C's these days, and I don't mean the sense of Ant-Man Double Vision or whatever the new one's called. Brad Pitt comes up when discussing this movie. Brad Pitt turned down the lead role of Will Freeman on the grounds that it was implausible that someone so attractive would need to pretend to be a single father to meet women. He nevertheless appears in the film, sort of. He's on the cover of an issue of Esquire that Will is reading in his flat.
I think I saw that. I think I remember seeing that. So wait, Pitt was saying people wouldn't buy that because I'm Brad Pitt and I'm so hot. They wouldn't buy that I would have trouble hooking up with women, because he's kind of missing the point. It's not that Hugh Grant was having trouble hooking up with women. He's
just a dirtbag.
Right, but also that he was specifically decided to target single moms because of the advantages of dating a single mom.
Yeah, and there are advantages.
Okay, so Brad Pitt didn't get it. I've lost a little bit of respect for him.
Oh, shut up. In the novel, Will introduces Marcus to Nirvana, and he bonds with Ellie over them. The book is set in 93-94, and the story climaxes with the kids learning about and being affected by lead singer Kurt Cobain's suicide. The title of the story is an allusion to the Nirvana song About a Girl. It's pretty baller. It's a great song, too. That opens their Unplugged album. And it was on Bleach. It's one of the first 3 tracks on Bleach, because when I was a kid, Bleach was the only Nirvana album. I could say Bleach a few more times in 30 seconds, but that was the only Nirvana album I owned. And that was like from 89, I think. That was even before Dave Grohl was their drummer. But great song. And I was obviously too young. I was, what was I, 5, 6? It's 94, I would have been 7. When Kurt Cobain killed himself. I don't even remember the news about it. I remember like the news of like Biggie and Tupac, but I don't remember the news about Kurt Cobain. I was too young. But there was obviously an entire generation of preteens, teens, and adolescents that were tremendously affected by that. So I think that's an interesting spin to have in the story.
Could you have used that in this movie?
No, I mean, I could have. It would have nowhere near the broad appeal to just all audiences, all white audiences that this movie does. Something like that really rings in your target market.
But also, I'm assuming that it replaces that instead of Nirvana, they just went with what's the name of the rap group?
The Fugees?
No. the CD that he gives them.
Killing Me Softly. Remember the Fugees sang that? So don't act like I'm stupid.
I know, but I'm talking about the rap group that when he's like shake your ass and all that.
And also to make sure I don't sound like an ignorant oaf, the Fugees, I don't know if you'd consider it sampled or covered or what they did, but Lori Lieberman from 1973 was the original performer of Killing Me Softly, excuse me. Your question was Mystical.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm assuming that Mystical replaced Nirvana in the story. And I think that it's a lot funnier to have Nicholas Hoult singing, rapping, than it is to have him singing, I don't know, about a girl or All Apologies or whatever. He would be. I think I don't know. For the tone of this movie, I think it works a lot better if he bonds with Ellie over that.
He's just like stalking behind her, just screaming negative creep. She's like, "Are you taking the piss?"
I like that. That's. I mean, someday I'll read the book. I've never read a Nick Hornby book, but I've liked at least 2 of the movies based on his books, and it always sounds like it's worth checking out the source material.
What was the other one? If you already said it, I apologize.
No, the High Fidelity.
Oh, duh. That's a gimme. That's a fucking day one right there. So, Julio, as we come to a close here, any guesses as to what was in theaters, more specifically what came out the week of About a Boy?
Kind of, because a lot of the quotes alluded to a big blockbuster, and then there were a couple that alluded to lightsabers. So,
you guessed it, Lord of the Rings.
Was it Return of the Sith?
Revenge of the Sith and
Revenge
no.
of the Sith. No? Attack of the Clones?
Yes, Attack of the Clones. Revenge of the Sith was 2004. But also in theaters from the beginning of May 3rd, that's when Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man came out. So About a Boy went up against some fucking juggernauts as Star Wars took the number 1 spot that weekend, but Spider-Man held at number 2. And then a movie called Unfaithful was
Richard
number
Gere
3.
and Diane Lane.
My God, how's that?
I haven't even seen it, but I remember the trailer. It's just so smutty. I think she's cheating on him with some dude, and the sex scenes are supposed to be pretty steamy.
Well, why not?
Get it, Diane Lane.
All right, so we had Star Wars, we had Marvel, we had the smut, steamy romance, the erotic thriller, Unfaithful, and then About a Boy at number 4. It's opening weekend. And then at number 5, Julio, I don't know if you would ever guess this, but let's just take a shot. All right, it's 2002. We got a comedy here in the top 5. It's a comedy for the teens. And think of the time frame and think of actors who were would have been hot at that point in time and then just never really did anything again.
God. Is it the new guy?
Oh my God. Yes. Oh, God bless. I love it.
That's impressive that not my guess, but that it was number 5.
DJ Qualls, man, party was never going to end.
That's about it. Let's get off quick. Get off.
Well, we're not going to top that. That was the perfect way to go out. That was phenomenal. So I guess it's time to move into ratings for this. I joked about it earlier, but yeah, I'll give this a C. My Letterboxd review is 2.5 stars. What it's going for, I appreciate. It's not something that necessarily lands with me. There's some good acting. There's some elements of this that we've flushed out more in real time here that I'm appreciative of. And I would never be opposed to watching this again or anything like that. This is a perfectly fine rainy day, you're cleaning the house, movie on in the background, that type of thing. So C from me. Julio, I saw your Letterboxd review. I'm not sure if this was a dated one or if it was from this most recent watch, but it sounds like you're in with this. You're on board with this movie.
That rating was from just my memory because I remember really liking it. I told you I went and bought the movie. I'm happy to report it holds up. I am giving it the full Monty. It's 5 stars for me. This movie, dude, I was laughing out loud as I was watching it downstairs. I had such a good time. It just works on every level. I think it might be getting a little boost just from the Rachel Weisz factor, but
as it should.
Yeah, but overall it's just funny, and I really like where it lands at the end. I can't believe they got me to buy their bullshit. At the end, I'm like, you're right. We're all islands connected together. That's definitely the best way to live, according to the movie, and I think I can roll with that. So yeah, that big movie. I ended up buying it. How do you watch it? I bought it on Prime. I rolled the dice. I was like, I'm pretty sure that I'm gonna like it as much as I did the first time. So I'm just gonna go ahead and buy it since I don't own it.
I rented it on YouTube. Good transfer.
Yeah, this was good, and now it's there for my perusal whenever I feel. Dude, that scene when he comes out with the guitar, it's pretty awesome. Yes, it's predictable, but it's just so satisfying. Those movies, it's manipulation, but it's perfectly staged manipulation. You know it's gonna be horrible when the kid goes up on stage, and then it's just so satisfying when Hugh Grant just stops being a selfish bastard and just comes out with the guitar. And it's so good that he doesn't even, it's not that he's a great singer. I mean, I mentioned it in Contrarians Corner, but he's just singing like a dude.
Yeah, it's the end of Elf. It's like, this is really silly and predictable when they all start singing together, but it's like, fuck it. It's a movie. It's fun. I'm enjoying this.
Yeah. So yeah, 5 stars for me, 2.5. Dude, your ratings this past, probably since the beginning of the year, I can't anticipate them. You know what I mean? Your rating just to throw me curveballs at this point.
Yeah, I guess that was my New Year's resolution. Be more dramatic and unpredictable with movie ratings.
Yes.
I'm trying to see
good job.
What I've watched of the year so far. The first time viewings, I think Carti is the highest rated movie I've watched this year for a first time viewing. So there you go. All right. Well, Jamie, thank you so much for throwing this on our desk. We hope we did justice to it. If you're a big Nicholas Hoult fan, I apologize. But, I was I mentioned this with the Mutations last episode as well. I was kind of worried just there's not an abundance of subtext or anything like that in the screenplay for this movie. It's not like we could dig endlessly to find possible motives and meanings and character actions. So I always get kind of nervous of what kind of conversation we'll get out of it. But I felt this went pretty well, and I hope you enjoy it. That's what matters. Julio, we continue the patron invasion. What is up next?
So up next is kind of a side invasion. This is not necessarily a patron invasion. It's more like a side podcast invasion. Somebody that's related to one of our patrons will guest on our show as we discuss the movie Waitress, and we'll be joined by Rachel, who has the privilege/curse of being married to our friend Ryan from Spit and Polish. She also has her own podcast with him, which is the Yum Yum Pod, where they talk about Babylon 5 and Star Trek Discovery and so on. So Rachel will be joining us to talk about a movie starring Kerry Russell, our first Kerry Russell vehicle in the Contrarians. I'm excited.
Excellent. Well, Kerry Russell, Nathan Fillion, I'm looking forward to it. pie. And I'm a fatty, so can talk about pie all day long. All right, Julio. Well, that was About a Boy. Waitress on deck. Time to get on out of here. We'll move into our perennial plugs. We'll start off by giving thanks to the Festive Years who provide our opening and closing tracks. They kick us off with Last Stand, take us home with Summer of 99. Be sure to head over to thefestiveyears.com for any and all Festive Years needs.
Our friend and fellow podcaster Hans Rothwieser is the man behind our logo, behind all the graphics on our Patreon page, our merch page, our web page. That little tomato looking at himself in the mirror, that's Hans's creation. You can check out the rest of his work on his own webpage, mildemonios.pe. That's mildemonios.pe. That has information about his books, the novels he's written, zombie novels, fantasy novels, also information about his podcasts. He has two, Nacion Combi, which is about Peruvian current affairs, and Marginal, which is about economy. Shoot him a line at mildemonios@hotmail.com. Contact him on Twitter @mildemonios. Let him know how much you like his art, how much you like his shows, and tell him that the Contrarians sent you. So, Hans, thank you for all your support.
LateNightGrin.com. Joe and the boys over there. I was on their show last night discussing the career of the Big Show, Paul White, a wrestler, Julio, who's been smart enough to stay consistent with acting roles, even if it's just like stunt work or like, you know, a 30-second cameo in something, so that he can keep up with SAG insurance, because of course the professional wrestling industry is not offering any of that shit. So
that's how you do it.
Smart man. And went in depth with that, so you can head over to latenightgrin.com, check that out. I think me and Joe made sure to shoehorn in at least a few movie references somewhere along the way. And as always, thank you to the support of our social media guru, Miss Zoe Perez. We mentioned also Corey Ari. He's been helping out with our YouTube videos. Corey, keep up the good work there. Really like that. That's something Julio and I, the YouTube game is unfamiliar to us, so the help we can get in making shit pretty for the YouTubers out there, I love it. But Zoe, as always, helps curate our social media game, facebook.com/ContrarianPrime, Instagram @ContrarianPrime, youtube.com/@ContrarianPrime. You can find us there. Zoe continues to make our social media posts look a lot prettier than if I was at least left to myself. What I would do, I'd just make something in fucking MS Paint. So here you go, Julio, post this. So, but as always, Zoe, and recently Corey, we really do appreciate the effort you give us in helping our social media appearance and presence look clean. We appreciate you, our listening audience, most of all, for tuning in to another episode of The Contrarians, where we're right and you're wrong, and we will catch you next time.